guys, welcome back. This is going to be our E3 episode for 2015. Last week we did an episode with some E3 predictions, and we're going to talk about all the stuff that happened at E3 and maybe poke fun at when the other people were wrong.
Try to continue your excitement, Steven. Try to continue your excitement.
It might be me pointing out that they were wrong. That might be what actually happens. But let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. You all know me if you've listened to Uncommon Loot before. I'm Steven.
I'm Eddie.
Oh, I'm Ian.
And we have a special guest today. Welcome our friend Vance.
Hello, everyone on Uncommon Loot.
Hello, Vance. Yeah, I'm talking for everybody.
Well, welcome.
Deal with that.
Welcome to the show.
I appreciate the welcome.
It'll be
Yes.
fun. It's a special episode, special guest. Everything's going to be fun today.
Yes. Well, not everything, because we're going to talk about the press conferences that happened. And let's start out with one that totally was not fun in any fucking way.
Bad news first. Square Enix was fucking terrible.
That pretty much seemed like a total catastrophe as well as all things considered. I mean, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt in some ways that a lot of their really cool big announcements were poached by the other conferences coming before them. But nonetheless, they just bungled everything.
Yeah, I feel like they brought good games, but the way they handled the announcements themselves was just really bad.
Yeah. Just Cause. Like, that's what they started their show with. And they started off, if you look at the trailer without any sound, the trailer looked beautiful. Tons of explosions, cool things that you could do with the grappling hook, the new fly suit. It's awesome. It looks great. Except for then they had this dull, boring voiceover where it's just telling you, like, you will get to fly on a wingsuit and it's going to make travel so much better.
I feel like if I had been walking around the show floor at E3 and I'd seen the Just Cause trailer just playing on, like, one of the big screens they have everywhere, I would have been like, ooh, what the fuck is that? I want to play that game. That looks really cool. Parachuting down and shooting rockets and, like, tethering helicopters to planes and other helicopters and shit. That's cool. I want to play that, but, like...
But yeah, then you had to hear the guy's voiceover.
They pretty much put it over the, like, vocal equivalent of elevator music and somehow managed to make an entire trailer about explosions and grappling hooks boring. It was impressive.
That is impressive.
And
that is a technical feat.
That kind of sums up the whole fucking press conference.
I honestly, I don't even remember that part. I was so tuned out, I didn't even care anymore.
Yeah, Ian literally just didn't pay attention.
Wasn't that the beginning?
That was the very beginning.
I already didn't care.
Yeah, they had already lost me.
But, like, yeah, I mean, they had a lot of big announcements, but it felt like a business meeting for the, like, trying to pitch the company to investors.
Yeah, it was just like, the investors, this is what we have coming out, and this is why it's going to be good and why people are going to like it. But we're not showing it to the people who are going to buy it and like it. Yeah,
we know you guys don't care about video games, so we're just going to talk about how much money these are going to make and, like, the bullet points of, like, how open world, explosions, things that video gamers like, etc., etc.
Timing and pacing are almost as relevant as the actual content that they're going to show. I think by far the best example was you guys showing me their slow, steady build-up to finally actually showing Kingdom Hearts 3, where they managed to suck almost all of the excitement away by the time they showed us that gameplay.
Yeah, there were like 3 false starts where he's like, all right, let's... this is Kingdom Hearts guy, and he talks about Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, so... They bring out the executive producer of Kingdom Hearts.
Introduced as the executive producer of Kingdom Hearts.
That's how they introduce him. And then he's like, let me show you a trailer of a game we're working on. We're like, yeah, Kingdom Hearts. And nope, World of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, the terrible Vita game that nobody wants.
It's technically PS4 and Vita, but
still. It's just like chibi and weird. And the thing is, like, we don't even know what it is,
it
really.
It didn't explain itself really at all other than, look, I'm chibi, except sometimes I'm not also, because sometimes they tap them on the head and they look like Kingdom Hearts characters or something.
Yeah, right. And, like, maybe it'll be a fun game, but I don't care to find out.
Yeah, you don't introduce the executive producer of Kingdom Hearts and then show me a side story Final Fantasy.
And a side story Final Fantasy that you communicate nothing about. Like, I have no idea. Was that a turn-based game? Was that an action game?
Is it an open world? Is it an MMO?
Was it multiplayer? I don't...
Is it active? Is it just like exploration? Is it like the Sims Final Fantasy edition? Fuck if I know.
Yeah, what is it?
So they do that, and then they go back to the boring guy, who's the Kingdom Hearts
Who
producer.
then introduces the guy who's going to have the shortest director's job in all of video games. I can't even remember what his name was.
The director of World of Final Fantasy or something.
Yeah, some young guy.
Who talks a bit about it. But the real kicker for me was when the Kingdom Hearts producer says they've already fucked up by saying, let's check out this new game, and they showed it after World of Final Fantasy. Then they show us Kingdom Hearts Unchained, which we don't know. And then they say, let's get to the thing we want to see, footage of Kingdom Hearts, and then they show two guys from Disney.
Talking about Tangled.
Talking about Tangled. Then you're like,
Tangled.
what?
So let's just sit here, and I want to know, how many can you name off in just, like, off the top of your head, franchises that Disney has that would be better than saying Tangled?
All of them.
All of them. Thank you.
Like, let's shoot
All
that
of them.
short. Let's not even bother to get
Exactly.
into the list.
Frozen, Marvel, Iron Man, everything. Just any of those. All of them.
Yeah.
Something about lightsabers or...
Yeah, show me some
I don't-
Star Wars. Tell me how Star Wars is owned by Disney, and that means it's going to be in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Right? Keyblade,
Splooge,
lightsaber.
excitement, everything is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Even if he did promise to say that he was going to show us footage, and then doesn't show us footage.
I'll be completely honest. I might have been more excited if they had just not mentioned Tangled. Like, if they had just not said anything.
If they had not said anything. If they, like, I don't know, if they'd still gone with the whole, let's show a director from Disney. If they'd been like, here's some footage of Final Fantasy, or Kingdom Hearts 3, and then instead of seeing that, we see J.J. Abrams in front of a fucking X-Wing, I would have been like, what?
Yeah, exactly. That would have been insane.
Let's not forget that Kingdom Hearts Unchained was a mobile game that was announced. That is
Yes.
yet another Kingdom Hearts game that is supposed to bridge the gap between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3.
And, here, let me
Mobile
foreshadow.
seems to be the theme this year.
Mobile is the awful sore on the side of E3's butt right now that no one wants to look at or deal with, but it exists and we have to.
And it's almost everywhere.
It is. It's terrible. Sorry, Ian, for interrupting you. Continue on with your...
No, that was my sentence.
That was your sentence. That was the end.
That was the whole story.
It's
Don't
a mobile
forget,
game.
it's on mobile.
It's a mobile game, and it's another like needless cash-in that's supposed to bridge the gap in the story that we really, really don't need. Like,
I'll be completely honest. Not only is it unnecessary, but like that's the reason I've never been able to fully invest in the Kingdom Hearts like entire
because they keep
series.
adding more bullshit.
Because
to
if
it.
I could just go back now and play Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 and be ready for Kingdom Hearts 3, I'd feel great. But apparently there's like 37 games spread across 6 different Nintendo handhelds and a mobile phone.
Yeah.
And I need to know all of them in order to understand.
They try to tell you that the story is important, but then they spread the story across like 6 different platforms.
And I don't even know where to find a Game Boy Advanced SP anymore. Like, what's that even?
Well, you can get the remade version for PlayStation.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
well, that's
PS2.
good.
Yeah, but like the remixes turn at least 2 separate games into movies.
You know why they're doing this, right? They're releasing Kingdom Hearts Unchained on mobile, so that way they can then do an HD re-release of it paired with Dream Drop Distance as the
new
final
3DS?
For the final HD collection
Kingdom
before
Hearts
they release Kingdom Hearts 3.
2.75 or something.
Yeah.
HD remix.
2.99.
Too many
But,
Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, they had other games that looked really cool. They showed us a new Nier game, kind of.
They hinted at it, which is pretty exciting.
And they
Platinum
said
Games
Platinum
is teaming.
Games, which is everybody's saying Platinum Games is almost as ubiquitous as mobile, but in a good way.
Yeah.
They announced another. It was only given a project code name. They didn't say anything about it really.
Project Setsuna is the new RPG from a new RPG studio called the Tokyo RPG Factory.
Yep.
Which
And by the way, we are now called Sacramento Podcast Factory.
I like it.
Yeah.
From now on.
From now on, that's our name.
Voted.
We are a factory. We manufacture podcasts.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what we do.
So if you couldn't tell, they make JRPGs. That's their job.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Spoilers.
So they do that. They talk about Tomb Raider, but that wad was kind of blown earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
at Microsoft,
and it showed the exact same footage, basically.
They showed basically the same stuff. They announced Hitman, which
Had been taken by
already
Sony
been done
already.
by Sony.
This is one of the reasons I almost want to, feel bad for them, is that most of their major reveals were kind of just poached from them, but nonetheless,
Except that the original major reveals that they did have were done poorly.
Yes.
Just Cause was not shown anywhere else.
Yes.
They fucked it up. Kingdom Hearts 3 was not shown anywhere else.
Yep.
They fucked it up.
Though, let's just say, when they did finally show the footage, after they drained all of the life and excitement out of you, the footage was amazing.
But again,
But you didn't care anymore.
It's really hard to care about it.
It kind of felt like we just got really, really gross sloppy seconds with Square Enix.
Yeah.
Like,
I just want to say, if you haven't watched the Square Enix press conference, don't. Just watch the Kingdom Hearts trailer.
Absolutely.
That's literally all you need to watch from that thing, and you'll know all you need to know about Square Enix.
And it did look awesome. I mean, like, for me, having watched it pretty much independently of the conference, like, it looked great. It was interesting. It was exciting.
that Deus Ex trailer was pretty good too, I think.
If you want to get a sense for what it was like watching the Sony press conference, the Square Enix press conference, find a Japanese copy of Ferris Bueller and just watch the Ben Stein classroom attendance scene. And you kind of have an idea. A Japanese guy awkwardly asking if anybody's there.
Oh, but take the subtitles off because they didn't bother translating one of the guys.
Yeah, a couple of times, actually. More than once they forgot their translations.
And turn the volume way down.
Technical
You pretty much got it.
difficulties.
Yeah.
Pretty much got it.
Let's talk about someone who shouldn't have any technical difficulties, though, but did. Because Nintendo's was pre-recorded.
Yeah.
There's no reason they should have it. They've had a chance to view it 15 times, 20 times before they even put it out. And then somehow they still end up messing it up? Like, how do you do that? Ian, you're the Nintendo guy. How do they do that?
I think I know what you're talking about. Are you referring to the Fire Emblem Cross SMT reveal?
Oh my good, yes.
Well,
yes.
not reveal, but because that was it was a new trailer, but we'd already
The showing.
Yeah, so they gave us a Japanese trailer for it, and they subtitled some of it, but like all the dialogue that was spoken was not translated. The title for the game, which is not called Fire Emblem Cross SMT, I don't know what it is called because they didn't translate that either. It's totally in Japanese.
Japanese, FE, Japanese.
All we know is that it's still on Wii U. It's still featuring Fire Emblem characters in high school, and there's Vocaloids. That's what I know about it.
I really kind of want to talk about the glaring thing that happened though before. Because they showed very good, high-resolution...
They showed a CG trailer for Fire Emblem Fates, which is the American name for Fire Emblem If.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it was in great
great
resolution.
In high-res. And then they cut immediately to the Cross Shin Megami Tensei trailer, and... it wasn't all CG.
It was low, and it was low res.
It was low res. That was my main problem with it, because I had seen gameplay of it before, and gameplay doesn't look as bad as what they showed during their press conference.
You know what's messed up about that?
What?
Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem is a Wii U game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Fates is a 3DS game.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should not have your handheld game looking better than your console game.
Yeah, exactly.
Not okay.
It's
Just
not
Nintendo
okay.
things.
And it's literally, all it is resolution, too. Because, like, I didn't have a problem with the character models, per se, and I didn't have a problem with, like, the backgrounds, per se, but it was all muddy and gross.
It's worth noting that there actually have been graphical changes from the original SMT Cross Fire Emblem reveal that we got a couple of directs ago. They've actually upped the graphics. The models look better than they did before. It was really just the resolution.
We know that it's gonna be a better looking game when the game comes out because it's a Wii. We know that Wii U does 1080p. That's just a thing.
It does.
So it's just a weird, like, why would they put that?
Yeah, why would they put that in their pre-rendered trailer? It's silly.
One of the weirdest things to me about Nintendo is that they didn't. I feel like they should have at least mentioned all of the stuff that they talked about 2 days ago on Sunday in the 4-hour Nintendo World Championships that a lot of people probably didn't watch, who then watched the Direct.
The Nintendo World Championships did more for me to sell me a Nintendo Wii U than the entire Direct. Just the finals alone. Where they showed New Super Mario Brothers, or Super Mario Maker.
Like some of the crazy stuff that people can do in levels.
Yeah. Just that alone sold me a Wii U more than their entire Direct did.
I mean, like, I think the best moment was when Cosmo opens a door and there's literally just a tower of Bowsers walking towards him.
Giant Bowsers.
And oversized Bowsers walking at him, and he just fucking panics and he leaves.
He closes the door immediately.
Yeah, he just opened the door and she's like, never mind.
It was just a classic Nope moment.
Pardon me, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. Well, didn't realize you were on the toilet. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's fun moments like that make me excited for Super Mario Maker, but they didn't show it in the Direct.
Yeah, and they tried to be fun in the Direct at the beginning with the puppets and stuff. Like, they tried to be fun in their own kind of cutesy Nintendo way.
I think they were trying to follow up with last year's, like, robot chicken sketches and stuff like that.
Yeah, they put puppets in.
The puppets were cute. Like, it was cute-ish, I guess.
Yeah, right? I would have been totally. I would have thought
this is Nintendo. I mean, like it feels a little off, but it's what we've kind of come to expect from them.
The puppets work, given that probably their biggest game in the Direct was Yoshi's Woolly World, so it's like there's a fabric theme going on there.
But the problem is they didn't transition from it to Woolly World, which Woolly World does look spectacular. And is one of the shining spots from this Nintendo conference.
Yeah, Woolly World is probably one of the better games that they showed, but the big focus on the Direct was Star Fox.
Yeah.
It was Star Fox.
And, I mean, a lot of people are really excited about Star Fox. I've seen a lot of reactions where people are like, oh, yay, Star Fox, like, it's finally happening, and we get it. I wasn't very impressed. Like, were you guys impressed?
No.
I mean, I think it looks fun.
I was impressed or intrigued, at least in the sense that realistically all I want out of a new Star Fox game is Star Fox 64 with give me some new features, shine up my graphics a little bit, and give me new levels. But that does kind of look about like what they're offering at this point.
And like, no one expects great graphics from Nintendo, but honestly, like, Star Fox did not look like it was up to par with the rest of its Wii U offering.
No, that's very true.
It didn't really look any better than what was it, Star Fox Adventures, whatever the game on GameCube was?
Yeah, Star Fox Adventures.
So I actually have a theory, and
Ian's got theories.
I know what you want me to say. I'm not going to say it. I don't want us to get in trouble.
Is it a Nintendo theory?
Yes, it's a Nintendo theory. And so Nintendo has come out and saying that when they designed new Super Mario Brothers for Wii U, what they did was they used the graphics engine for Wii and then upscaled it.
Yeah.
Looking at the models and the textures and everything that's being displayed on Star Fox for Wii U, I think that they may have up-resed the graphics engine for Star Fox 64 3D on the 3DS. I think they used that.
So
as
they
their
did
model.
an up-res of an up-resed 64 game.
I mean, no one's confirmed this. They're like, don't hold me to that, but that's my theory because that's what it looks like to me.
Are you trying to convince me that Nintendo is trying to recycle their product over and over and over and sell me the same thing again and again and again? Because that just doesn't sound like them.
Heresy, blasphemy.
And there were some cool ideas there. Like, I really liked how they chose to incorporate I'm going to call it the chicken walker.
It walked like a chicken.
The chicken walker from...
The wings from the R-Wing even, like, turn into, like, little chicken wings. Like, it's got wings.
So for those of you who don't know, it was taken directly from the canceled Star Fox 2, and the R-Wing transforms into, like, a little walker thing, and it, like, shoots lasers, and it's all fast and squirrely, and it looks cool and fun.
Yeah, so there's the false nostalgia, and then they also hit the topical nature with drones.
Yeah.
One of your transformations is you could be a drone, I guess.
Yeah.
What really kind of bothered me, though, is that you're doing all this action from the gamepad, and then everyone else kind of just watches the like more cinematic camera view of it on the TV itself, kind of like Treasure Tracker. And like, one, that's kind of weird because it's like, if you like, I play Star Fox, but I don't really like the first person mode in Star Fox. I like the
absolutely.
yeah. And that bothered me. And then also, because you're controlling through the gamepad, it's almost like you have a turret. So, like, your R-wing is facing forward, but then your lasers coming out of your R-wing are firing in whatever direction your gamepad is facing. So, like, if you're really used to Star Fox, it's kind of weird and wonky looking.
I will say, watching the footage, part of the reason I'm still kind of excited is that it looks like you might not actually need to use the first-person view on the gamepad.
You might be able to use the gyroscope.
Because your targeting reticle is still always on screen, and you're still always shooting where the targeting reticle is. So you might still just be able to fly around with the sticks and use the motion controls just to move the thing on screen, which sounds kind of fun.
Possibly.
The problem is, though, that I see is that we have this really great right stick. And you know what? You know what most games use a right stick for? To aim and shoot at things while the left stick moves.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like Miyamoto is straining himself trying to figure out how to utilize the gamepad and sell everyone a Wii U. And like I feel like that time has passed and they should just focus on like conventional gaming.
Yes. Can we just bundle like an actual GameCube controller now with the Wii U and just call this a failed experiment and move on with our lives?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and they do have good games coming, though. Like, they legitimately have good games. As we said, we've got Woolly World. Fire Emblem Fates looks really good.
I've actually looked over my list, and you'd be surprised how many of these games are coming out this year. This is the one thing that Nintendo does have, is that a lot of this stuff is coming out this year.
Except for they didn't make that clear in their direct.
No, they didn't. They didn't make a lot of things clear in the direct. And that's something else that I wanted to mention is that compared to last year's direct, like there wasn't a whole lot of commentary going on over the gameplay. It was all silent. They kind of just started showing us gameplay footage with absolutely zero context, and we didn't really know what was going on.
They basically had the opposite problem of Square Enix.
Yeah.
Like, lots of confused footage, basically.
Yeah, where we're just like, what game is this? I was like, oh, well, this is a new game from this series. And it's like, okay, but what is it? Like, what are you doing? This doesn't look like what normally happens in this series.
Yeah, like Animal Crossing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
go ahead, Steven.
One Animal Crossing looked good, actually. Looked a lot better than what I thought. That was what's the DS one called?
Happy Home Happy Home Designer for 3DS.
Yeah, it looks like you work for Tom Nook in the town of Animal Crossing, and you build houses for people who want houses, and
it
you
seems
do what
like
they
you're
want.
like a realtor
That sounds
crossed
like pure
with
evil. Tom Nook is the
Tom Nook
devil.
is the villain. He is the devil.
But
that's
I mean,
part of the
If you work
backstory
for
of Animal
him,
Crossing.
if you
He
work
is the
for
devil.
him, you're
Over-
building those houses that then he just keeps forcing you into a deeper and deeper mortgage debt with.
Well,
Yeah.
Overlord showed that it can be fun to play the villain. But I mean, it's kind of a cool concept. You're playing like realtor crossed with interior designer, and like
It's kind
the
of
way
like
that-
Is it The Sims? Because it looked like The Sims.
Not
If you've played Animal Crossing is
Yeah, I have.
is Nintendo Sim-like.
Sure.
So yeah, kind of, I guess.
I will say,
But then,
I thought it was weird that. Go ahead. You're the Animal Crossing fan.
yeah, I love Animal Crossing. I have an Animal Crossing 3DS.
so
actually.
what happened after that, Steven? What was the other big reveal for Animal Crossing?
All right, so rumors had been going around that there was going to be an Animal Crossing for Wii U,
Yeah.
which sounded amazing.
Right?
Ian, what did you think when they said there was going to be an Animal Crossing for Wii U? You told me.
Oh, I was super excited. I thought that the Happy Home Designer for 3DS was going to be paired with the Wii U, like it was going to have some kind of like functionality with it. And you're going to be able to design homes and then put that stuff in the Wii U version, and there's going to be like Miiverse connectivity, and it's going to be like awesome.
And it was going to be just going to be a straight up Wii U Animal Crossing, right?
Yeah, straight up Wii U Animal Crossing, online connectivity, just taking full advantage of all the Wii U's features that you couldn't do on the 3DS, and it sounded fantastic.
And so these beautiful high-res Animal Crossing characters come out, and they just show up on the screen. And then you want to know what shows up in front of them?
A dice block.
A dice block. And they hit the dice block, and then they go across a board and collect coins.
Oh, and
What?
Did we mention that in order to play Animal Crossing Mario Party, you need amiibos?
Yeah, I think the official title is
It's Animal Crossing Mario Party.
It's Animal Crossing Amiibo Party.
Animal
or
Crossing Amiibo Festival.
Yeah,
is the
it's just it's Amiibo Party. They just changed the word party.
It's coming out this holiday season.
Oh my god! And I'm losing my faith in Nintendo. As I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, they just keep.
One of the funnier things to me is that they showed Triforce Heroes, the Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, which is
wrong Zelda game?
It's Legend of Zelda 4 Swords,
That's okay because we got 2 Zelda games.
but with 3 characters.
It's 4 swords minus 1.
It's 4 swords minus 1.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's 3 swords.
They've
Those are the
managed
3
to
swords.
continually announce all of the Zelda games you don't care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they did this
repeatedly.
really cool stacking feature, right? Where the bottom person moves everyone around, and then the top person gets to shoot arrows or cut at things that are at the top level.
And the middle
Yeah.
person does literally nothing.
Literally nothing.
Those
Which
are-
actually,
no.
this seems like it's kind of Nintendo's strategy overall, is continually release or announce games that are of the IP you want, just not the game you want. Because we've now got 2 Animal Crossing games, one of which maybe looks good, but neither of which are an actual Animal Crossing
Yep.
game.
Yep.
We've got 2 Metroid games that got announced.
Yeah, we didn't talk
Neither
about
of which
those
is a
yet.
real Metroid game.
Neither of which is an actual Metroid game. 2 Zelda games that we've got going on, neither of which is an actual Zelda game.
Oh,
Oh, we haven't talked about the Metroid game yet, have we?
no.
I don't want to. I don't care. It's fucking stupid.
It's
I
Metroid
won't
without
give-
Samus or Ridley.
I am not giving them the fucking respect of telling the name of the stupid fucking Metroid game that they showed off.
So I guess this is basically a filler year for Nintendo.
So it's called Metroid Prime Federation Force.
We said we weren't going to do that, Ian.
Federation's stupid.
It's also paired with Blast Ball, which was the mystery title that was revealed during the
The
World Championships.
But when they revealed it during the World Championships, I thought, oh, that's cute and kind of cool.
Oh, a
because
new
it was
IP.
just sold as Blast Ball, a new IP. And I was like, oh, that kind of reminds me a little bit of Metroid, which is fine, but it wasn't supposed to be Metroid. And then to just then say, oh, it was a Metroid game all along.
So there's something else about Federation Force. So it's a 4-player co-op like mission-based Metroid game where, like Steven said, there's no Samus, there's no Ridley. It takes place solely in the Federation, and it's being developed by Next Level Games.
Yeah.
Which is
Hey, we've
not
got a good track record, right? With Metroid games being made by other studios?
Yeah, right?
Right, so it's a Metroid Prime game not being made by Retro Studios, not featuring Samus or Ridley. And also, Retro Studios, who was supposed to have been working on a game this entire time, showed nothing at the Direct.
Goddamn.
So we can basically assume that whatever it was this
Retro
studio
Studios.
was working on essentially got skinned over to be Metroid and shamelessly pushed by
Shamelessly done,
Nintendo.
Yeah.
I think Ian,
I'm
are
done.
you done with Nintendo right now? Not for life. I mean, they're gonna show you another Monster Hunter eventually.
What was
They have another one coming.
Well, important information: Super Mario Maker is September 11th. Hooray!
Looks
Never
cool.
forget.
That seemed
They
like
did a really good job of making sure they put 11th
11th.
of September.
Everything else was put out in month/day/year, but that was 11th. The word September. 2015.
They really didn't feel like they could just delay that for a week
no,
or
they
launch a
couldn't-
week
or
early.
Put it 2 days earlier or whatever. No.
No.
So they dropped the ball pretty hard, but we are getting Super Mario Maker. We're getting Xenoblade Chronicles X just in time for the holidays. It's like December 4th.
December 4th. And
Yoshi's Woolly World, which will be out October 16th, and then a bunch of other games that nobody really cares
Yeah.
about, like Skylanders and
Yokai Watch.
Yeah,
Yokai Watch, which is going to be confusing to a lot of American kids who don't know Japanese mythology.
Also, both of the Zelda games announced for 3DS are. Oh, actually, no. Triforce Heroes, the not Four Swords game.
Four Swords minus one.
Legend of
Swords.
Zelda 3 Swords Adventures.
That's holiday season. The Hyrule Warriors 3DS version is 2016.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Okay. I think that's enough from Nintendo.
Oh, you sure you don't want to talk about the stuff that they didn't talk about and then announced afterwards? Because their Direct was so terrible, they had to wait until it was done to announce more.
Wait, there's more
important
stuff that was announced at the Treehouse?
Let's see. We got Mario Sonic Olympics, because I know you guys love that.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Hooray.
Whoa. They've
They-
saved the Nintendo Direct.
There is Fatal Frame.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
They-
that actually
That
looks
actually
pretty
does
cool.
interest me.
Yeah,
Which-
that's pretty cool.
Is that a
which
Wii
is-
U Fatal Frame?
Yeah.
That could
Wii U
get
Fatal
some
Frame.
gamepad as your camera.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say the gamepad could actually have some use in that.
It's called Maiden of Blackwater, I think. If the translation is
this
right.
a port of the one that got
No, this
put
is
out
a-
in Japanese or Japan recently?
Recently, yes.
Okay.
Well, wait, a port? No.
semi-
that's
It's a translation.
Or
Yeah, it's a
sorry,
translation.
Localization.
Yes,
And
that's
then,
what I'm saying.
if the sources are right, it should be coming out this year.
That's pretty cool.
go.
which would be really good.
That's a
And
game
then,
that actually uses the gamepad in a clever way, unlike
Yes.
Star Fox.
Yes.
Chibi Robo for 3DS is coming out October 2015, and then Project Guard, the E3 demonstration for last year, is being made into a full game being developed by Platinum.
Cool.
Yeah, so a new Platinum game, once again, whoring themselves out across.
They might show up everywhere.
and-
They might show up in each of these just one time.
And
Yeah.
luckily, on the plus, Nintendo didn't talk about mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
surprising because they're the company would have expected them
Yeah,
to
especially after
with
the big mobile thing. That
with their big partnership with whoever the hell.
Well, they
DNA.
did. That technically just means they followed through on their promise that they weren't ready to talk about mobile yet.
Yeah,
Yep.
I suppose that's true.
And they didn't talk about NX either.
Well, they said they were going to talk about NX, which is
Next
kinda-
year.
At next E3.
Yeah.
But they also didn't talk about any Splatoon DLC or Mario Kart 8 DLC, and they also didn't talk about a Club Nintendo replacement like we
Yeah.
kind of expected.
Or any kind of online offering that is
At all.
remotely fits
But-
in this decade.
But instead, they released an eShop discount, 30% off of a ton of eShop titles without really telling anybody.
Because
Well,
that's
yeah.
the best way to sell games, is to
And-
not tell them about when they're on sale.
Secret
And
sales.
yeah.
And instead of really pushing indies like we thought they did a smaller program where they did announce Mother 1, which they're calling, Mother Beginnings?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Or Earthbound Beginning.
Yeah,
Earthbound Beginning.
Earthbound Beginnings, and then they're doing this very, very small indie push where they're doing a demo for the next 5 days for 6 titles, and if you download the demo, you get 15% off the game when it does eventually release.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Again, not talked about it. At the
Also,
direct.
buy Earthbound Beginnings, because Eddie and I want Mother 3.
I also
Yeah.
want
Translated.
I also
Everybody
want
wants
Mother
Mother
3.
3.
Everyone wants
You
Mother
guys want
Everyone
Mother
wants
3.
Yeah.
That guy who Reggie set on fire still wants Mother 3.
Yeah, exactly. But, okay, that's the end of Nintendo.
Yeah, I'm done
Let's-
with Nintendo.
let's move on to
Kind
EA.
of sick.
Yeah. EA. I can't say. I would say EA had a good conference this year.
EA had a decent conference.
I feel like EA had kind of a turd sandwich, and I mean that very literally in the sense that there was these good parts on either end.
Delicious bread, a pile of shit, delicious bread.
It
Right?
was just sandwiched in between. I mean, they opened with So Strong with that Mass
Mass
Effect
Effect?
Andromeda.
That was beautiful.
It was
Yeah.
gorgeous. And then they closed with the Battlefront footage that had more gameplay than we saw from any other of the other conferences.
Yeah,
that
and it was
they-
beautiful too.
Yeah.
Battlefront looked amazing.
And honestly, as someone who was skeptical of Battlefront after some of the announcements, they did not give it the strongest announcement when they said
they
some of
did
the
not.
features and said some of the things they weren't putting in. So this really restored my faith in Battlefront also.
Yeah,
so.
me too. They said local co-op versus AI bots. That's gonna be great. That
Yeah.
means that you might actually see us at our Common Loot sitting here playing it on a live stream or on YouTube or something, because we can.
Absolutely.
Although
That's great.
I did feel like EA and Square Enix were in competition with each other for who could tease their big game for the longest. Because oh my god, they took so long to actually show Battlefront.
And they kept
Yeah.
mentioning it.
Yeah, they
it
mentioned
wasn't
it.
like they left it out. They kept saying guys, are you still watching? Because we're gonna get to Battlefront.
And,
Yeah.
and they
Probably
did
falling
they did the
Like,
same exact
wink,
thing
wink.
as Square Enix, where they're like, I know you guys want to see Battlefront, and I know you're probably tired of hearing me talk about Battlefront. So you know what's probably better than me talking about it? Me showing it to you. Here's some guys on a couch.
Yeah. But they showed the reboot for Need for Speed.
Which actually
good.
looks really
It's
good.
Very pretty.
Looked fantastic, actually.
Prettier than a certain other racing game that was announced at a different conference earlier that
And
day.
let's just say that Ian doesn't like racing games, and
No.
he said it looks awesome.
Yeah.
So that's should be enough.
I think it.
Eddie and I do like racing games.
I think it arguably looked like the best racing game that was shown at all of E3.
I'm absolutely in the Ian boat of not giving really a crap at all about racing games, but if I had to play one of anything that was shown, absolutely, by far.
If I recall the sequence of events at their conference right, I believe it was showing Mass Effect 3 or 4, which is yes,
was cool, but it wasn't
excited for
gameplay.
Mass Effect, but they didn't show us gameplay. They didn't tell us anything other than
It was
the
a nice
title.
teaser trailer.
Then they showed us Need for Speed, which was exciting. Then they lied to us
What was that lie exactly? Eddie?
by telling us that they had 3 new IPs to show today. Then they showed us the first of those new IPs in Unravel, which is actually a new IP
Yeah, it's
and
a cool,
actually looks
adorable
cute and
2D
fun and exciting.
platformer where you play as a little guy made of yarn.
Then they showed us the Mirror's Edge trailer was after that, right?
Something along those lines.
No, Mirror's Edge was near the end, man.
Oh yeah,
Because remember, this is the shit sandwich.
We're in the shit part of the shit
right.
sandwich.
We're reached the shit part.
That's when we get to the first taste of shit in the form of sports balls, right?
No, Plants vs Zombies came first.
Was it?
Plants vs.
It was-
Zombies is where they
Because
really
remember,
lost
we
me.
went to the danger zone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We left the Unravel comfort zone of love to join the danger zone, and
And we saw Plants vs Zombies, which, okay,
it's probably a cool game for some people, and it's fine. But they spent 10 minutes on it,
And
in
it
a
shows like
really-
garbage.
It shows like garbage. It's a really boring demo. There was a whole lot of slowly walking around doing nothing.
I wanted K-Log to come out and demo it. Kenny Loggins.
Yeah, Kenny Loggins would have been great. That would have been a really good celebrity guest star.
Oh my god.
Instead, they finished Plants vs. Zombies, talk about a bunch of fucking mobile garbage,
which is where the other two
which is where the second and third lie came about, where the second IP was a collectible card game for Star Wars, which is not a new intellectual property.
Yeah, Star Wars has existed for a long time.
I think it's been around for a while.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and a Minions from Despicable Me city builder for iPad.
Yeah.
What?
Is there anything more to say?
No.
Could you
No.
need to say, I
No.
feel like you just summed
No,
it up.
I think
They're
Yeah.
liars.
Moving-
They're lying liars that lie.
Moving on.
See, they lied to us twice, and then their actual celebrity guest came out.
Yeah, to talk
was-
about the sports balls.
Which was a football guy, I think.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was the
a
football
global,
guy.
global football guy, and
It
he
is-
is, in his defense, the football
It's
guy.
Like European football we're talking about
it's
here,
Pele.
of course.
Yeah,
It's Pele
Pele.
for all you Americans. Pele is the football guy. He's Brazilian.
Okay,
Yes.
I believe you.
But
I think Brazil counts as Europe when it comes to
When it
discussing
comes to the
football.
I think Vance just kind of displayed every American's emotion when Pele came on the stage.
Yeah,
he
pretty
was
much.
just like, okay, I believe you, whatever.
This guy's a big deal. You're telling me he's a big deal, and I assume that you're an expert on this subject.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, he's cool. He told some fun stories about soccer, which I'm really interested in when I'm watching the fucking EA press conference about video games.
Yeah, that was the. I mean, and
I mean, put that in an ESPN 30 for 30, and that's cool. That's perfectly fine. Put it in my video
Yeah.
game
Yeah.
conference.
That was almost as exciting as when they did the NFL draft at E3.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, yeah, and then they show Madden.
Yeah.
Okay, let me sum up sports balls for you,
Go.
because we know none of you are interested, and I actually do like sports balls.
let's take it to
FIFA-
Steven
FIFA's
at the
out.
sports
It's basically
desk.
the same,
You have
except you got
30 seconds. Go.
All right, FIFA's the same, except it's got lady footballers. Madden is adding in new features that were actually old features that were in games from 5 years ago, but they're putting them back in now, so you'll be able to do them. NBA Live is finally going to have the feature that every other basketball game has had since the beginning of existence, where you can hold the button in order to shoot and let it go when you want to release.
They
What
also
else?
showed
Hockey exists.
Hockey exists.
Done. EA. Sports
And
balls.
29 seconds. You're
29
done.
seconds for sports balls. EA spends 20 minutes on the damn shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I literally summed up all the sports balls. And
Everything
I like
that mattered.
sports.
You
Yeah.
gave us all the highlights.
So that
Which
was
is what that should have been,
And
was a
then they
highlight
got back to games and made me feel a little bit better by telling us that Mirror's Edge Catalyst is going to be open world, and you can just fucking run anywhere, which is super cool.
That does look really awesome.
I can't wait, honestly.
I really liked the announcement afterwards when they talked about, I think this wasn't till this morning, when they were discussing no gunplay whatsoever on the
Yeah.
part of Faith,
That's
Yeah.
so good.
and that she is going to be able to use her parkour specifically to deal with the fact that she's being shot at. Like, as long as she's in her flow and making her motion, she doesn't have to worry about being shot.
Yeah.
And it's only when she stops and stands still, which is theoretically what you should never do in a Mirror's Edge game, that
Yeah.
she becomes vulnerable.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be It's gonna be so great, and another thing with it being open world, a big problem with a lot of open world games that Ian brought up is that there are a ton of fetch quests. But Faith is a messenger. That's
Yeah.
what she does. Is she takes things from one place to another, and the gameplay is movement. It's
that-
going places.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things is Mirror's Edge makes it so that like one of the problems is in a lot of open world games they eventually have to give you something else, either fast travel or some other way of getting around this giant map in a hurry because it's so boring to move across this giant world. Whereas in Mirror's Edge, that's where most of the fun is moving
Yeah.
around the
Yeah,
world.
it's not just hopping on a horse and then riding to your destination for 10 minutes.
They admitted for the first time, I think, that the reason that most open world games are fun, a lot of the most fun ones are fun, is movement. the old Spider-Man on PS2.
Hell yes.
Was super fun. Just
Spider-Man
to
2 or
fucking swing
1 or
around
2?
in the
1
world.
and 2 were both fun. Hulk Ultimate Destruction, jumping around the entire city and just smashing
fun.
buildings and climbing up them. Wonderful.
Infamous,
I was gonna say,
Infamous,
both the entire Infamous
games
series.
and Prototype, really fun to
Yes.
move around.
Even
what was
Grand
it?
Theft Auto is fun to move around because the vehicles that you can get into.
Yeah,
and-
especially now, the more fun Grand Theft Auto gets is the more vehicles you have, like crazy,
Yeah.
getting into planes and helicopters and parachutes and all that shit.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, Saints Row 4.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, which part of Saints Row? Because there's just so many fun ways to move in that game. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So that's fun.
And this is an open world game where the movement is the
That's the core gameplay.
That's the core gameplay, which is going to be fantastic. And then finally,
Battlefront.
after an hour of teasing, they show us Battlefront.
They did, and it looked fantastic. And honestly, it was almost worth sitting through the rest of that entire conference for.
Almost.
Yeah,
Almost.
It was really good though.
Almost. It was fun. It was really. It looked like Star Wars.
It did.
I'll throw in a complaint just because I feel like we have to complain. I think they chose the wrong level to show it off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because Hoth
They-
doesn't have a lot of
they didn't-
variety in environment.
That's
this,
true.
This wasn't where they showed Hoth. They showed Hoth at Microsoft, and then they showed the
You're right.
Tatooine or someplace. In
Yeah,
the
they showed the desert. You're right. Never mind. I'm
you
getting
are
confused.
correct. You
And
are
I
That
thought
one,
that this
that
was
one
better.
looked better. Yeah.
It didn't look probably as good as it would have been to show Endor, but they might not actually be ready to show Endor.
Yeah, Endor probably
Yeah.
really difficult. to work
One of the biggest things that stood out to me was that, and I know a lot of people, one of their complaints was that they were removing any space combat from the game. I felt more reassured, though, by some of the vehicle stuff they did show. Some of the, I'm crossing between the Hoth gameplay and the Tatooine gameplay, but
There was a
showing some
lot.
of those speeders, showing some of the vehicles where it looked like you were going to be able
Yeah.
to freely fly around and move, did a lot to reassure me that there is going
Yeah,
to be
I
a
was
lot of
worried.
gameplay variety.
Yeah.
I will say, I think one of the things that would be really cool, they talked about the co-op gameplay stuff. If they had a special mission for co-op that was the on-foot sequence on the Death Star, sneaking around the Death Star, fucking taking out stormtroopers and doing shit like that, that would be a really cool thing to do with your friends.
Yeah. But
In this
I mean,
game.
even if you can't do it, like what they showed was awesome. It was beautiful to look at. The gunplay looked solid and tight. The lasers sounded like Star Wars lasers, and it felt like Star Wars.
And regardless of which one of them it showed in, because I can't remember, we got to see Luke fight Darth Vader.
yeah, we got to see Luke. start
We got to
fighting
see Darth Vader just, I mean, I really actually loved the way they did that, the Hoth scene, where it was going back and forth from each side, and all of a sudden the dude's just choking out.
It was pretty exciting.
That was on Hoth at Microsoft's slightly better conference.
Slightly better, which
Yeah,
is why
which
we're
gonna-
doing it next.
Yeah, well,
that-
let's
is
move
that
on to
next?
Microsoft. Yeah.
You know what Microsoft didn't do to us? They didn't lie.
They didn't. You're right. They didn't lie. They didn't outright lie.
They did kind of twist their words around. a
Yeah, they
little bit,
did.
though,
They
didn't
did use wording in order
Were they
to.
very careful with how they
They were
phrase things?
very careful with the console exclusives and timed releases and pre-alpha footages and premiere gameplay.
Ooh.
Rather than being like EA and just assuming that their consumers are too stupid to know what words mean.
Yeah. So let's talk about the big things that they said that weren't games. Microsoft or Xbox Premiere, early access. It's Steam's early access for Xbox.
Which may be good, may be bad. This
Kind of bit of
really depends on how hard Microsoft is willing to police it versus how hard Valve was willing to police early access.
Exactly. Like we'll see. Things are open. We'll see. Hopefully it goes well.
Yeah.
I like the idea, but it's not been implemented well so far.
It really just depends
Pretty
on the
much.
execution. It's either going to be a great thing or something just awful, so it's hard to say so far.
Yep. There are actually more than two things that weren't games related. Backwards compatibility.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of games related, but it wasn't a new game or anything.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was excited for it because it means I finally have a reason to get rid of my Xbox if I buy an Xbox One.
Yeah,
Sure,
you can
yeah.
finally sell that old copy of Mass Effect 1.
That was the worst thing they could have
Yeah,
shown.
they showed
They
Mass
showed
Effect
Mass
1.
Effect 1. Like, why don't you show something from later in the Xbox 360?
A little bit
life
later.
cycle?
Yeah.
Like Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
Just 2 would have been fine.
Mass Effect 1
Mass-
looked so bad up there.
Maybe maybe show Mass Effect 3.
You could even go all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
People get a little upset when you bring up too much Mass Effect 3, though. So
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, hey, cool. Some people now have a built-in library of games before they ever buy their Xbox One. That's a cool feature for those people. Although, if I'm not mistaken, and now I did not watch this one live, but from what I understand, it's only going to be specific games that they make available, and they were very dodgy about how big that library would be.
Yeah, they said it was a decent amount of games, and they kind of showed a list real fast.
Of course.
And they said, well, okay, this is one of the things that they said that kind of irked me a little bit. They were like, if it's not they basically said if it's not available, it's not our fault. They said, we make it really easy for developers in order to make their games backwards compatible. All they have to do is tell us it's okay to flip the Switch, and we flip the Switch.
So it is on the developers
That's
somewhat?
what they said.
It's up to the developer.
The list that I saw was like not even 40 games long. It was like maybe 26.
As I said,
Yeah.
they moved the game list real fast.
So
It is literally Xbox 360 backwards compatibility again. You're going to have to go to GameStop, and you're going to have to look at all the tags to see which one says BC next to the name.
Fantastic. So that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be, that's again kind of similar to the Premiere thing, going to really come down to execution. If they expand that library sufficiently, that's going to be great.
I also felt like this announcement kind of cut into another announcement that they had.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody knows that Rare has been working on a lot of stuff at Microsoft and some secret games and stuff that's been going on back there. So they finally did the Rare reveal, and it was basically a Rare anthology collection for Xbox One. It's pretty massive. What is it, like
30 games.
30
and it's only
games.
$30.
Yeah,
30
30 games
games.
for $30, which, as long as you want every game, is $1 per game.
But what's funny about that is that a lot of those games are available on the backwards compatibility list.
Yeah. So if you already own them, there's less reason to buy the thing. But there's definitely games that you couldn't play on an Xbox 360.
Yeah, like
because they don't
Battletoads.
exist. Like Battletoads, the original Perfect Dark.
Yeah. Some cool
big
stuff.
games.
It's sad that their backwards compatibility list is like half of it is comprised of games that are in this collection that you're also releasing.
They
I
were
do have to
really
be the guy to point out that GoldenEye wasn't on the list, isn't in the Rare collection.
They actually answered those concerns later on in the day.
Licensing.
It wasn't licensing.
I thought it was.
No, they said it's not licensing. The reason was because Rare has like 120 properties in their back catalog, and they were looking at the list and they're like, we want to do 30 games. We only want to do games that are actual original Rare concepts.
Oh, right.
And GoldenEye is somebody else's thing.
It's understandable why they wouldn't, but I still have to be the guy to point out that they
Yeah.
put it in.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But before we get too much else into games, there were two other big, like, technically hardware things that Microsoft announced. They put out a new controller for $70.
Is it 70?
$70.
It's in its defense.
It's a nice controller.
It's a really nice
It's a
controller.
really nice controller. It's got some cool things that
Got
you
some
like.
cool triggers.
There's
It's
little
got
paddles on the back to, if I understand those correctly, you can remap it so that you never actually have to use your right thumb on buttons.
Yeah, you can remap all
Interesting.
of the buttons. You can change the joysticks and swap them out. You can swap out buttons.
So wait, you can remap on a
So you can
hardware
remap
level,
the-
you can remap the buttons on the
yes,
controller?
on the
Yes.
controller you can
Okay,
remap
so basically
the
the
buttons.
same thing that Sony released like a few months ago where they can...
Well, I mean,
Except the biggest difference that Sony didn't do, to be fair, is that there are, like, on the back there are flappy paddles, like a flappy paddle gearbox.
So
that
you're
can use
not
with
talking
your
about the
fingers.
triggers.
Yeah.
Not
not
the
the
triggers.
triggers.
Okay.
There are 4 additional, like, trigger-like things on the back.
Okay.
So you could remap A, B, X, and Y in addition to the normal triggers.
Got it.
and you can swap joysticks, so you can use
swap joysticks.
convex or concave or slightly concave or however you want your joysticks to be.
And if you feel like the triggers on the controller go too far, you can lock them into shorter give.
Right.
So I mean, there's
So
lots
it's a
of cool
pro
things.
controller
It's a-
that does justify its price because it sounds like it is absolutely not for
Yep.
everybody.
No, not everyone needs it.
And for all
It's
you
not
fighter
everybody.
fans, it actually had a fully functioning D-pad.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
a fully functioning, changeable D-pad.
Yeah.
Whatever style of D-pad you like.
Yeah,
Interesting.
which is cool. And then the last hardware thing they showed was the VR, which was they are gonna pack in an Xbox One controller.
VR/AR, right?
VR. Well, they
Oh, because
showed
the HoloLens.
the
was
HoloLens.
AR.
They showed they're gonna pack in Xbox One controllers with Oculuses because whatever. And then the HoloLens plays Minecraft.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's a cool little demo. Like, it was a cool little demo, but as Eddie brought up, like, how good is it for games? It looked kind of cool for Minecraft, but didn't look like it added anything special.
Which we have to worry about because Microsoft now got a track record of, from everyone that I know who had an Xbox One, they said the Kinect was great for things like doing TV, navigating their console, never wanted to use it for games.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if we are looking at another multi-$100 peripheral or something,
That's what it seems like, because HoloLens is advanced technology.
It's what it looks like, and if we're looking at another expensive peripheral that just makes surfing your menus a little bit more comfortable and fun, I would be concerned if it's not got a really strong gameplay function.
This is a totally separate thing from E3, but I think that Microsoft needs to stop trying to market the HoloLens to anybody who isn't a top-tier product manufacturer as anything other than a workstation design tool. Like, if you are a person who wants to be able to, like, build new products that are three-dimensional and cool, and especially if you want to tie it to, like, 3D printing, this technology seems great for, like, getting a really good visual idea of what your product is going to look like in the real world before you print it.
But for gaming, it feels like it's just a half step where everyone else is going full VR, and including Microsoft themselves with the Oculus, and I believe they announced a partnership with Valve VR.
They said that they were working with Valve VR to
so they were
make
pretty
Windows
vague.
10 games possible or something.
Okay.
And you're going to be able to stream Xbox One games in 2D to the Oculus via Windows 10 and your PC.
That was a lot of steps.
Yeah, it's a lot of steps and it's complicated, but they're saying they're working on it, basically.
All right, well, there's something.
But luckily, with this conference, we probably took longer on all of those things than Microsoft did.
We probably did.
They actually did not take a very long
They
time.
were fairly snappy. They showed some good games. They've got Forza is good. It's going to be pretty.
Forza
Not
looks
as pretty as Need
beautiful.
for Speed.
Forza looks beautiful. I think graphically Forza looks better, but like gameplay wise and just Need for Speed looked better.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's a fairly large divide amongst driving game fans between something like Need for Speed, which I think is going to be more of an arcade racer, versus a sim racer, which is what Forza is.
Yeah, they're definitely not necessarily competitors. Rare announced another new game that you care.
Ian's a big Rare fan. What did you think of Rare's announcement?
I mean, it wasn't Battletoads or Banjo-Kazooie. For reals, though, it did look really, really pretty. So it opens up, and it apparently is a pirate-themed game. I don't actually remember the name of the game. It was like...
I don't remember. It was a pirate game.
Uh-oh. This is not a good sign, Rare. Your fans can't remember the name of the game.
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Sea of Thieves. The water looked amazing, and
ship battles looked cool.
Ship battles look cool.
They made dudes walk the plank, then the dude who had to walk the plank looked like characters.
And he saw sharks.
Yeah, and he saw sharks.
Yeah. The ship battle not only looked awesome, but the ships looked like they may have been fairly destructible.
Yeah.
Those cannons were not just inflicting damage; they were breaking apart.
Yeah, things were breaking.
Yeah. At some point, the ship that we were seeing didn't have any sails anymore, I think.
Yeah, I think something like that.
But I think the thing about it is, what is it?
Yeah.
They showed the trailer without any context.
Yeah, they didn't say. They kind of pulled a Nintendo. They didn't say anything about it at all.
The most context they showed is that almost every pirate or every pirate that was walking around had a MMO style name above their heads.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe an MMO?
Yeah,
maybe
maybe
not.
At least something large scale multiplayer of some
kind. It might
kind.
also be like whatever that fucking that steampunk Zeppelin game is, where you and your friends like team up to pilot a single Zeppelin or something. I can't think of it.
Wait, what is that? That sounds fantastic.
I don't think I've ever played it, but I have that
cool.
on Steam.
Yeah, it's a cool looking game, but it's a good concept for a game. So it might be the three of us are pirates and we get our ship and we each do things, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it did look like it showed a couple. I remember distinctly there was a view where one guy was like pulling on ropes, so it specifically looked like he was doing something involving piloting the ship cooperatively, not just combat.
Yeah, it looked cool, but we need to know more.
I still don't know what the hell you're asking me to watch
Exactly.
or play.
Then they showed Recore. Recore looked really cool. That was another new game.
But we don't know what.
Once again, you're right. We don't know anything.
We do know a couple things, not about the gameplay itself, but the developers was kind of interesting. It was it directed by? No, not directed. But Keiji Inafune was involved, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's Armature Studios, which is ex Retro Studios developers.
So they've got a pedigree behind them.
Yeah, so the people who it was advertised as from the makers of Metroid Prime series.
Yeah.
And the trailer had some good moments to it. It kind of tugged on the heartstrings a little bit when they blew up the little robot dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it could be good, but once again, the show they didn't show me gameplay. So
it did have character and heart though, which is more than I can say for a lot of what was at that press conference.
Yeah, like Gears of War.
So we finally can get into the big stuff.
Okay, so I bought my Xbox 360 instead of a PS3 because of Gears of War 1. I was incredibly impressed with it. I loved the crazy machismo style.
There was a gun with a chainsaw
There's a
on
gun
it.
with a chainsaw on it. Exactly. Like, how could you go wrong? Like, and I loved it. Like, me and Ian played through all of 1 and 2.
And 2.
And I played through all of 3 on my own while I was living in Florida.
Yeah.
But they were all really fun games. And so I was pretty excited to see Gears of War 4. And then they showed Gears of War 4, which looks really pretty. We'll start like that. Graphically, it looks pretty. And the characters kind of look like humans. Like, they're still tall, relatively big humans, but they look like humans.
Which may have been a mistake.
It might have, because as I said, I really like the style. Like, it felt like its own thing.
If they don't look like walking like sides of beef, is it even a Gears of War game?
That's a good question. Yeah. If a cow doesn't moo, is it a cow? Like, I don't know.
It just felt really, really tame to me. Like from everything from the character models to the voice acting to what was supposed to be an epic set piece for the demo.
Yeah, Gears always shows off epic set pieces.
Something completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And theirs was just like, hey, there's a lightning storm and some destructible environments are gonna collapse and block your path to escape.
Yeah,
Suspense.
They didn't even really show gunplay.
No.
Like, they got to the part where gunplay would have happened, and then they stopped it.
Did they even...
I thought at the end, they reached a place where gunplay was going to happen. They saw an enemy.
Well, was there really no chainsaw gun action? I don't even remember.
I don't think there was chainsaw gun action.
I don't even remember anymore. It was not very interesting.
I want to be excited about it.
Of course.
Yeah.
But... Once again,
This kind of feels like the theme in a lot of Microsoft stuff. Or in a lot of the things that happened was like, okay, you've showed me enough to make me interested, but not enough to convince me at all. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, you might argue that's the point of E3, but come on, guys, you can give me a little bit more.
You can make me excited.
You can make me hungry.
I also felt like Gears of War just didn't feel the same without Marcus Phoenix's gravelly, chunky voice.
That's true. It did.
That guy sounded way too polite.
The one thing that I think did actually excite me, I mean, they showed Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider looks cool. Like, it looks cool. If you like the Tomb Raider that came out recently, for
I heard it was
360.
really good.
Yeah, it's like Uncharted with Lara Croft.
There you go. So that's good.
I am not a Halo fan,
No.
but the new game mode Warzones in Halo 5 looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
You know what? To be honest, all of Halo 5 looked really cool. They showed the campaign, though there is one problem, right? Ian?
Yeah.
Well,
I felt like the aesthetic, like something about the way everything was designed had kind of a plastic feel to it. Like,
Yeah.
It was missing those like really, really good textures and everything that Destiny has. Maybe I'm just used to playing Destiny, but
It's
just
hard to put my finger on what exactly, but when Bungie stopped making Halo, even Halo 4, something just looked a little different. And not necessarily bad, but it's, I don't know, it's something you're so familiar with and so comfortable with that is so intangible that when it's missing, it feels a little wrong.
So what was that new mode in Halo that you were talking about?
Warzone is, they called it PvEVP, where...
Oh, that's right.
It's
Okay,
like,
I remember now.
Where, like a PvP match, you're going up against other players and shit.
yeah, it's like it's 8 versus 8.
8 versus 8.
Wow.
But while you're doing that 8 versus 8 combat, there are NPC actual, like, Covenant and probably Flood or whatever fucking villains they put in coming at both teams.
Yeah.
Just throwing a wrench into the mix, which sounds kind of cool.
It does. It sounds really cool. Like, it just sounds like it makes things really hectic. Probably has some cool things to do with, like, you know, upping your points and stuff like that. Gives new ways for players to, you know, kind of feel like they're good at something. Kind of like how a MOBA people who jungle and then people who team fight.
I was almost thinking I didn't actually watch the Halo reveal. But I mean, if they can extrapolate on that and make it into something like an objective based gameplay that involves the NPCs, almost something like you see a lot of in Here's the Storm.
Yeah.
Something along those lines could be really cool to see done in an FPS that has really tight gunplay mechanics.
Right.
I do feel like they need to be careful with that though, because if it's just different NPC factions warring in the middle of it and just wreaking havoc and making things interesting or difficult or whatever, it could kind of piss some more competitive players off.
Absolutely.
It would be like competitive Smash players being forced to do free-for-alls with items.
The great thing about that is that it's a mode, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
one
so-
of the modes. It's like you can play deathmatch or you can play Warzone.
But I
Yeah.
do hope that they use, if they're going to bother to go into the extent of making an entire new mode, I hope they do more with it than just say, look at this chaos element we're introducing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it's something cool.
It did look interesting.
But it
though.
looks good, and I'm excited.
And then there's a co-op campaign that just feels natural and seems like it works.
A separate note, I just realized what sounds really interesting for something like Warzone would be an alternative objective structure where it's like PvP and the target is to shut down the enemy boss.
Sure, yeah.
Like
something along those lines.
like a Destiny raid where you have to be the team to kill Skolas, and there's some reason why
Sure.
there you have to fight against
You have
other
to beat him
Guardians or
before the
whatever.
other guys
Yeah.
beat him or something along
Yeah,
those
no,
lines.
And you can it's like doing a race
There's
where
a
you're
lot
fucking
of-
tearing each other down or whatever.
There's a lot of room for a lot of creativity there, I think. We'll just have to see, once again, hooray, a great idea that we'll have to wait to see how the execution plays
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And I think that basically covers it. Like, the last couple things we talked about had a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, some things that we're skeptical of. But I think moving on, like, every other press conference was amazing.
They're pretty good.
Microsoft was the last one that even had anything questionable, so I mean, and it was overall pretty
I
good.
have one big caveat, which I'm just going to get out of the way at the beginning.
Go for it.
Ubisoft is the next one we're going to talk about, and all of the games that Ubisoft showed looked really cool.
Yes.
But then as soon as they finished showing the game, almost every one of them said, go sign up for Uplay.
Yeah, they were like, we have a beta, and if you want to get into that beta, go to this website. And then that website says, you want to go into beta? Cool, click this. And it redirects you to Uplay.
Thanks a lot, you
Which,
play.
that's true.
It's like they were like, check out this really cool For Honor game. Now stab yourself in the arm.
Yeah.
Check out this
Well,
cool
I
new
mean, that would've
Assassin's
been
Creed. Now
appropriate for
stab
For
yourself
Honor.
in the other arm.
Still probably appropriate for Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of For Honor, that dude who brought it up was intense.
He
Yes.
looked like he belonged in the game.
Yeah, and I swear he's probably like the leader of the Vikings in that game.
Yeah,
I
man,
hope so.
he came out on a cane. Like, he's got some stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably a cane sword.
Yeah,
To be
probably.
honest.
Yeah. He was ready to kill somebody if they gave him a hard time.
So I guess jumping into it, For Honor looked awesome.
Yeah, it
did.
Especially for a new IP and something we've never seen before.
Yeah, like what knights versus samurais versus
Vikings?
Yeah.
Potentially to become versus something else.
Yeah.
Sure.
Strategic dueling combat with NPCs that are going to get in your way, but the real focus is on player versus player combat.
Yeah, it almost
Yeah.
felt like, I almost got a MOBA vibe when initially those two waves of minions, so to speak, were crashing into each other,
Me
but
too.
then when they were able to go to the side and just say like, all right, it's honorable duel time,
Yeah.
and kind of go at each other. But also, I don't know how the mechanics work yet, obviously, but it looked so good at being able to on the fly switch between 2 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 1
Yeah.
versus 1. The game and the gameplay and all the mechanics seemed to adapt to that incredibly well on
Yeah.
the fly.
Yeah,
Like,
and then
immediately.
the combat was not like most multiplayer combat. Like, even in like Call of Duty, it takes usually 2 or 3 shots to kill somebody.
Sure.
In this game, one. If you get your sword on someone's neck, they're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you get your sword on their body, they're dead. Like,
Yes.
that's it. That's the end of their life.
It was
Yeah.
a lot of feinting and posturing and moving. It looked very... Obviously, we won't know
Yeah.
until we actually get to play, but it looked incredibly tactical.
That's fainting with an E, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone wasn't spontaneously falling unconscious. As exciting as that would be.
What I liked is they brought out the two teams to play the game, and like you I kind of got the impression that they did not really like rehearse anything. It was just like, okay, guys, like you trained for this, go kill each other. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
And it was,
like,
that's another thing. It was gameplay.
It
was.
Like, it was literally two groups of people on stage playing this game on a PlayStation 4.
Yes, which actually it like almost perfectly communicates to the problem we were having earlier. Is what it feels like most of the conference would have been just that initial trailer that we saw that was very confusing, and I had no idea what I was watching. Where we kept switching between different time periods, and that would have been the end of it. And we'd say, well, that looks interesting, but I don't know really what it is.
Yeah.
But then they went on to actually show us full gameplay and let us know, no, this is what it is.
Yeah, when they were first showing the trailer, I thought it was maybe going to be like Total War or something like that, or like a strategy game, but no. Third-person action combat game.
Yeah,
Looks
with
good.
maybe some MOBA elements. Sounds pretty cool.
And guys, that's actually a new IP.
Yeah.
A real
An actual new IP that wasn't a lie.
But can we talk about the opening?
Somebody did lie to us related to Ubisoft because Trey Parker and Matt Stone have said previously that they were never going to make another game. And instead of that, we get this fantastic opening with Ubisoft where like the countdown happens and everything goes to black, and then you see like epic art fantasy RPG, 15 Game of the Years 2014, one of the most incredible games of all time. You guys know it, you guys love it. And we're like, what the fuck game are they talking about?
And then they show...
Ubisoft doesn't have... And then fucking Cartman is like, who put the stick of truth in the toilet?
It was so good! It was so good, and it felt
So
just
good.
like South Park. And then they go, and the beginning is them as fantasy characters, and then they go up to the other team's fort, and the kid's like, yeah, guys, we're not playing fantasy anymore. Now we're superheroes.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, wrong costumes. Let's go change.
Yeah, sorry, guys, we're playing superheroes now. Let's go change.
This time, be Coon and the gang.
you want to say the name of the game, Steven?
South Park, Fractured Butthole.
It's so good, and I love how like Cartman giggles after they reveal the name of the game.
I honestly, I didn't hear it until Cartman said it.
Yeah.
Because they showed the name first with the BUTWHOLE, and you're like, okay. And then Cartman says it and laughs, and you're like, oh, duh.
Oh
Perfect.
man, I am so excited for that game. Like,
Oh, yes.
As soon as the first one came out, I played it all the way through, and I loved it. And I plan on doing the same thing
And
with
it's
this
clearly
one.
got the same good humor. Trey Parker and Matt Stone came out and they started talking about how because it's superheroes, you're gonna get into your backstory. You're gonna go deep into the butthole of your fucking main character from out of town.
Deep into
they
the
said like
butthole.
4 times like deep into your butthole.
And
like,
they mean deep into the butthole. If you haven't played the first South Park game, The Stick of Truth, they mean into the butthole.
Oh boy.
Deep inside.
So that was really cool. That was a great way to open the show, and then showing For Honor was another way to keep following it up with really good shit. What else did they show?
A lot of Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy owned that show.
Yeah, he did.
Tom Clancy.
Yep, that's all the Tom Clancy's. No more. 1, 2, 3. That's the Tom Clancy.
3
We're
Tom
done.
Clancy.
They announced 9 games, right? Basically. 3 of them were Tom Clancy
9 games, 10 if you count the Trials Fusion expansion DLC.
Yeah. And 3 of them were Tom Clancy. What's crazy, though, is that all 3 of the Tom Clancy games looked amazing.
They really
And
did.
I don't like Tom Clancy games.
Same boat. Like honestly, I mean, especially as we were saying, the last very ending reveal.
The finale
Ghost
was
Recon?
Ghost Recon.
I was watching this reveal the whole time, just going, man, this looks like such a cool game, and we kept replaying the scenario over and over with different approaches, and I was like, gosh, this looks so great. What the hell Ghost Recon? What?
Yeah. So, the new Ghost Recon looks great, but one thing is it is not Ghost Recon.
Yeah.
It's totally not. What
Yeah.
it looks like is they were like, we spent a lot of money developing this Division engine. Whatever we're
Yes.
using on Division, we need to make another game with this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's reskin it, use the same core gameplay, and then call it Ghost Recon.
But turn it into an open world drug war?
Turn it into an open world drug war single
Now,
player.
Gosh,
Okay.
that looks fantastic.
They haven't said this, and I feel like they would have said this if it was true, but the end of that trailer said open world and then zoomed out and filled in all the countries.
Yeah, it was the whole world.
The
Oh, really?
actual US, like the planet Earth.
Oh, really?
Everybody. So that might actually be a global open world game where you can go.
Technologically, I don't understand how they can reach that scope,
Yeah,
but
that's how
I
they do
want it.
I mean, I would honestly be satisfied with them doing it just like it looked like they were mainly focusing on South America, at least from the trailer.
Yeah,
Sure. But I have to assume that it's probably going to be something like the Cruise Open World US, where it's not really the US, but it's the
parceled.
US.
Yeah,
It's like parceled versions of each country or something.
Sure, I could see something along those lines. Either way, it looked fantastic. It looked very unique and interesting. It looked like it had a lot of tactical cooperative elements going on. It looked like an awesome game.
Yeah, speaking of tactical and cooperative elements, Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
That was straight up the most tactical shooter I've ever seen. Graphics look beautiful. And it was gameplay once again.
Concepts look really fun.
Yeah, concepts look really fun. It was gameplay. That was the thing. That Ubisoft did that the other ones that came before it didn't really do.
Yes.
Was they straight up said, this is the game, and then pulled out a controller and played it in front of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they followed the same up with the same concept with The Division, where they showed the Dark Zone. Oh my god.
This is crazy.
So great.
I didn't even want The Division. I was just like, it's gonna be another Watch Dogs. I don't care.
I was definitely intrigued by The Division. It looked just because they've been so vague with exactly where it's falling on the scale of shooter versus RPG versus MMO. It seems to clearly be drawing in elements of all of those, but they hadn't up until this point at least convinced me exactly what we were looking at. And now that they have, oh man, even before even getting to the ending where everything went crazy, even the beginning where they come across that mob pack or whatever, and then the two other guys show up, and just the tension there where it was, all right, what do we do?
There was no action. They were literally just staring at each other, but the tension, you felt it. You were just like, what's gonna happen?
And then to find out at the end that one of the reasons there was that much tension is because it seems like, I don't know if there's permanent death, but it certainly seems like you can lose a lot.
You lose everything that you gained in the Dark Zone.
Yeah, so that's I can see why there was so much tension, because there is some serious sense of loss, which seems like something so many games are afraid to do anymore.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a risk, but I think it's
especially with
an
MMO
risk.
type thing.
Especially with exactly. Especially MMOs have gotten further and further away from any level of risk.
But I feel like what they did was in labeling it as Dark Zone gameplay.
Sure.
That they said that this is a zone that you don't have to go to.
Yeah.
You can get awesome gear if you do, so we're encouraging you to do it, but you never have to go here, and you can still gear up and play the game.
It almost felt like it was the PvP zone to some degree. Hopefully there will be elements maybe of PvP in other areas, but that felt like it was, this is the hardcore area, this is the nullsec space in EVE nomenclature, this is the place you go where shit gets bad, but hey, there's always going to be a reward that measures up to the risk.
Yeah. They announced some of the smaller games they announced were Trackmania is coming to consoles.
Really cool, fun Mario Kart
which is really cool. Yeah, kart style track racer without Mario style bullshit of
no items and shit.
I just want to party with those two guys, honestly.
Yeah, those dudes look fun. Jeff Bridges and stuff.
Jeff Bridges and what's his name?
Jeff Bridges, Fedora.
That game looked really fast, by the way.
It's super fast. So Trackmania is coming. That's cool. And then they talked about Anno. In space.
Yeah, so big city builder where you have to earn your way in space.
You have to earn your way.
You can colonize the moon.
Yeah, you build your city up to being spacefaring, and then once you've got it to spacefaring, you could go colonize the moon at least, and possibly more space. We don't really know, but they showed the moon with lit up like the planet Earth is.
Yeah, it was covered in civilization.
That sounds crazy.
It looked awesome. And then of course Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which they didn't spend a ton of time on.
Which was refreshing.
It was.
It was nice.
So much of focus is always on Assassin's Creed.
I expected it to be the centerpiece because it is Ubisoft's. It's the closest thing I feel like they have right now to a flagship franchise.
Yeah.
And they have pushed it so hard at this point to be an annual, serialized, sometimes multiple games per year series. And as a person I am a pretty big fan. I know a lot of people hated Unity. I actually really enjoyed it, but this looked really good. It looked refreshing. It looked like they really learned from their mistakes.
Yeah, this looked like the year that you buy Assassin's Creed. I generally don't buy every Assassin's Creed, But every couple, they come out with one that's amazing, and this
Absolutely.
looks like this is going to be that one.
I agree. This looks like, I mean, we all knew that Unity was going to be rough because it was their console. They had to jump the console gap, and I think that's what hurt it more than anything. And this one really looks like they've gotten a lot more comfortable on the next-gen systems, and they're going to take advantage of all that more powerful hardware.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like some of the new movement stuff, like the carriages look really fun. Getting around with the grappling hook looks really cool.
The grappling
Those
hook
poor
looks
horses,
so cool.
dude.
Those
Yeah,
horses
those
died.
poor horses.
Those
horses are
horses
dead.
fucking sacrifices.
Like, they did not focus on that, but yeah,
And
the
then,
grappling
I
hook
mean,
I'm
they've
really
showed a
excited
bunch of
about.
different trailers at various places, and all of them just make the characters look really cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can play as two different assassins. for the
Yeah, I
first
got that
time.
impression. That definitely looked like something very refreshing, and they looked like they played very differently also.
Yeah, but while still being interesting in that, like, they're brother and sister, so the fact that their stories are obviously going to be intertwined,
Yes.
so you can see a lot of the same events from different perspectives, and like when they split up, that sounds cool.
Plus, they got to take a stab at everyone who got really, really mad that you couldn't play a lady in Unity.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
true. And then I want to finish on one more, and this is one of the most positive notes that I could say. Ubisoft did not talk about a single mobile game.
Not one.
Not one.
They didn't even say the word smartphone.
They
No.
didn't. No
second screen experiences.
Yeah,
No
nothing.
companion app. Yeah, in fact, I don't think this was brought up during the conference, but I do remember during the initial Assassin's Creed Syndicate announcement, they said, we're not doing a companion app this time. We are not doing any of this bullshit. You know, Ubisoft seems to be focusing on games right now, and it showed in their conference.
Yeah, I mean, I went into Ubisoft expecting to be incredibly disappointed, and I was very happy with everything they showed.
Absolutely.
Now, really quick, so we have two more conferences, for those who've been counting, that we have to talk about. This is going to be a long episode if you haven't figured it out. And
Bonus. E3
I think
double issue.
we are going to take a little break here. Recoup. I really need to use the restroom.
Yeah, and
And,
then we'll come back and we'll do a second episode focusing on the last two conferences.
And depending on how things go, we may have a third conference if they say anything interesting. I'm kind of watching the PC conference live blog as we're doing this. So
Yep. So thank you guys for listening. Please come back for part 2, and see you next time.
We'll see you there.
Bye, guys.
Later.
Bye-bye.